Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Confessions of an Autism Mom. And today is a little bit different, and I'm excited about it because it's going to be a lot of fun. I can already tell. But I have two moms on here that are friends, and they both have kids on the spectrum. And we are going to chit chat and have fun with them today. Rachel and Brandy are my two special guests, and we're just going to go back and forth, have fun, and do a little chit chat, okay? So we're gonna hop right on into the episode today, ladies. How are y'all doing?
Great. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you for asking, and
Of
thank you
course.
so much for coming on to share your story and your journey. Okay.
Yes, thank you for
Thank
having
yes, thank you for having us.
Of course. So let's go ahead and start off. I'm gonna pick Miss Brandy first.
Sure.
Can you start off by telling us a little bit about your journey as an autism mom?
Yes. So I am mom to Jacob. He is 7 years old, and he is a little bit of an anomaly, if you will, because he has about four diagnoses. So he has Down syndrome, he has autism, but then he also has a seizure disorder and cortical vision impairment. And he is 7. He will be 8 in August 20th. And he was diagnosed with autism 3 years ago. And pretty late in the game, because he has Down syndrome, we do see a developmental pediatrician at Emory University once a year. And she brought it up to my husband and I and said, do you think that he could have autism? And I said, well, I haven't really, he's just Jacob to us. And we found a program that would evaluate him. And then, we did get the diagnosis. And I think because we had dealt with so many other diagnoses prior to the autism, that it didn't impact me as much as it does other moms. I'm
Okay.
100% certain of it. And so it was just kind of a piece of the puzzle for us to as his parents, make him the best Jacob that he can be. So that is kind of our story with how autism has kind of inserted itself into our lives. And, it's a learning curve, and we just, every day's a new day. And you may hear him in the background every now and again. He's very loud, yeah. We listen to closed captioning. We listen to closed captioning on our television because he's very loud. But yeah, so that's kind of my autism journey of getting there. I haven't been here too long,
Yeah.
but definitely it impacts us daily for sure.
Yeah. And Brandy, I want to, because I didn't know all of that was going on with your
Mm-hmm.
son. I
Sure.
just want to give you kudos as a mom
Oh,
because you came on super positive and happy, and your son has multiple diagnoses, and that can drain a mom. And
sure.
and thank you for being positive.
I do. I try very hard to keep it positive because it carries over into everything. So
Yeah.
definitely try. Thank you. I appreciate that. That's very sweet of you.
You're welcome. And Rachel, can you give us your story?
absolutely. So I have two sons. My oldest one is typical. He's 17, but my 12-year-old, it's my oldest one's name is Sam. My 12-year-old is Wesley, and Wesley got diagnosed at 2.5 with autism. At that time, they had just changed the DSM to where they didn't diagnose Asperger's, but they also weren't diagnosing levels. So his official diagnosis is autism with no cognitive disability, which would sort of be my understanding that level 1 autism, maybe Asperger's. It impacts him, sometimes I think he's like in between a little bit, but he is verbal. And one of my first indicators for him, because I didn't know anything about autism back then, was that we would go outside and all the kids would be playing in the neighborhood, and he would just be standing behind a car staring at license plates, just studying the letters and numbers. And I was like, I was like terrified because I was like, this is like the last thing I want you to be doing is standing behind a car right now. But, it was one of those things where we were like, oh, isn't that quirky? Isn't that neat? And then I can remember the day when I thought this means more than I think it means, because we were in my parents' driveway, and he was staring at their recycling bin. They had a serial number on it. And it just hit me. I was like, this is something more. And all I knew how to do was Google obsessed with letters. And I mean, that's literally what I did was I Googled obsessed with letters and numbers, and then autism came up, and then I burst into tears because I didn't know what it meant at all. Like, I just didn't know. I just knew something was wrong, right? Because that was my sort of old life. And from there, it was about a year-long process to get him to we had him diagnosed at Marcus Autism Center in Atlanta. And we started our journey that way. And it's just always a moving target. You're always assessing and doing something different. But and at first there was a lot of grief. But there's not grief. I mean, and I think we can get into this, but like, I do think you can grieve in certain periods of your life for whatever you feel like is not happening the way you expected it would. But that intense grief, the grief of what something is, in quotes, I don't know if this is also a visual medium, so I want to make sure I put in quotes, something is wrong with your child and you don't know any of the implications of that. I'm long past that. So anyway, that's our story. My husband he was like, whatever you think. And so I was very lucky that we didn't really have any barriers in our way. We got in there really fast, which I learned is not always the issue, not always the case. So he was diagnosed very young.
That's good. Thank you for sharing. So, Brandy, I know that you said you didn't have any like feelings, or not really feelings, but you just kind of took it a little bit better because of the other diagnosis. No feelings at all, just like,
oh no, definitely have the feelings. I think that, again, to kind of mirror what Rachel said, it just comes in bursts for me. Again, I think that it makes Jacob who he is. And I try really hard to embrace that part of him. But there are times that it's very, very challenging because he is nonverbal. He's not ambulatory. He's a wheelchair user right now. He's learning to walk very reluctantly. But so he has a lot going on. And I, again, had an incident this past weekend where I just wish that we could get that communication piece. And it was a very emotional weekend because that communication piece is not there. So yeah, definitely have, like Rachel said, those bursts of emotions around things that are part of the diagnosis, if that makes sense.
And what's a typical day in like both of you all's household? Like, how do you all go throughout the day?
You want to go first on that one, Rachel?
Sure. Yeah, I can. So for us, I work full time at home, and I homeschool Wesley, and that's pretty recent. I've only been doing that for the last year, so I think the word would be overwhelmed. But he's grown a lot in this being at home. It's been really good for him, and so his independence has increased a lot. But I think it's less like what I'm actually doing, which is getting up, working a little bit, getting school going, having him do some assignments. My husband works at night, so it's not as hard now because I have a 17-year-old who can drive. But like while they were young, it was hard because, it was like we just were like tapping in and out, like, here you go. I'm sorry he smells like that. I got to go to work, that kind of thing.
Right.
I don't know why there's peanut butter in his hair, but I can't do anything about it right now. So now, because I, number one, work from home, and number two, like he's home and the kids are a little bit older, it is more relaxed. So I think instead of being like physically exhausted, I do get mentally exhausted because I feel like there's a lot of things I'm responsible for, like his entire education. And then my job is pretty demanding, and I have to travel, and there's scheduling is always very, very hard. Because my husband works at night, if I'm traveling for work, it's like trying to put all the pieces together of who's got, and then I'm out of town, and I'm like, I don't know where my kids are right now. Like, who's has them? Where I got to go back to the list. Like,
are they your own list?
Right. Like, did I leave them somewhere and nobody watching them?
Did I miss that segment of time? Like, is he hanging out by himself for 30 minutes?
Yeah. Is he out in the driveway with a sign that's like, I don't know where my parents are.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that's kind of it. It's more of a I feel pressure, I think, more than,
our typical day. So it's funny because now that we're talking about it out loud, Rachel, I really feel like our lives are vastly different in this case. Is that I have a husband who my husband works from home. I work out of the home. So, a typical day for us is, Jacob, during the regular school year, he's in school Monday through Friday, and then he'll come home and he does in-home ABA therapy Monday through Friday. Yep. And then I work at a local high school, and I'm usually home probably about 4:00 every day, but my husband is home. He goes to pick Jacob up from school. He brings him home. He does all the things. And, so our dynamic is a little bit different from Rachel's. And in fact, that there's two of us, and we can kind of tackle it together. Whereas Rachel and her husband are kind of, we've talked about this before, Rachel, ships passing in the night, and so for us, it's manageable, and there are some days where I'll come home and my husband will just, hand Jacob to me. He's like, here. And I'm going to say, okay, so it's been one of those days, so, but again, we do have that piece of that we're both here, and not that that your husband is not present, Rachel, that, but it's just vastly different than what I deal with at home.
Yeah. Also, sorry. I was going to say also, like, we're kind of out of the phase where we necessarily have to exchange a lot of information too, whereas you guys are coordinating appointments and like who's taking him here. And then one thing Brandy and Carl are really good at is giving each other a mental break. Like it's really impressive. Like, I think Andy and I still get grouchy with each other. I really want to just read my book and there's some shows I want to watch, but anyway, but they are good at giving each other breaks.
Well, surely.
And I love to hear that you all have a husband that is really hands-on and that's helping quite a bit. How did you two meet?
Who's telling that one, Brandy?
Oh, I'll do it.
Okay.
Twist my arm. No. So I after Jacob was born, I didn't have social media up until 2017, which I feel like I was a very late bloomer when it came to. I
did not know this about you. Oh
yeah. My God. So I feel like I was a late bloomer when it came to the Facebook and other things. And I was just looking for other special needs moms to connect with, because I was like, I know I'm not the only one. I know that there are other people out there. I need to find them. And a local church had posted that there was a special needs moms Bible study / support group that met. And I thought, well, I'll give it the old college try. And I went into this particular meeting. I don't remember what time of year it was, but and I think there were maybe 8 or 9 other women there, and varying ages, diagnoses, things like that. Is that you, Rachel?
Yeah, I'm trying to turn it off. I'm so sorry.
Always with the dinging. And Rachel was in the group, and I have I'm just going to go ahead and put it out there, Rachel. I have an alarm on my phone that goes off at 6:30 telling me to not eat any more food. And that alarm happens to sound like an ice cream truck.
It's ironic, which I love.
So it's telling me to eat no more food, and it sounds like an ice cream truck. So it went off, and I told them, I was like, and somebody said, "Oh, it's your ice cream truck." And I was like, "Yeah, I'm not eating any more food. It's an ice cream truck." Yeah. And Rachel thought that was funny. And then she shared a little bit about the job that she has. Rachel, if you want to divulge that information, that's fine.
Gosh. Was it the same day?
What'd you say?
Was that the same day, the ice cream truck noise and me talking about my job?
Yes, because remember you said I talk about chlamydia all day. That's what you said. So immediately right there, Amanda, I was like, she's not because I know about chlamydia, so to speak, but
just the joke of it.
But just the joke, I was like, that sense of humor, I'm on it.
Yeah,
so,
I was the same way. I was the same way. Like, there's nothing off limits here to be funny, but I do. Yeah. I work for a company that sells sex education curriculum.
Okay.
Actually, we sell a lot. It's used quite extensively in Georgia. So, but people don't want to talk about my job. Well, I bring it up a lot.
Sense of humor just automatically. Yeah. You need that lightheartedness. You know.
Yeah.
When you're making friends, and I always say that. I always say, you know, it's good to have a friend that's an autism mom, but you also got to make sure you click.
Yes. Yeah.
And what I mean about that is exactly what you said, the joke. Like, I have a dry sense of humor. I laugh at things that maybe I'm not supposed to be laughing at, but it's
all the time.
Like all the time. So it's kind of like I need somebody to not judge me and understand, hey, I'm talking to my friend and this is free range. Let's have fun. So I totally get that. Well, your sons are at two different ends of the spectrum. Brandy, you mentioned your son was nonverbal, and Rachel, your son is verbal, or?
Yes, he's verbal. He's always been verbal, but he had a lot of echolalia. So there was not always functional communication, but he's more than verbal now.
yes, he is, Rachel. Yes, he is.
What have you two learned from each other as far as like the journeys that y'all are on?
I mean, for me, I'll go first real quick, just because it was ready. I was ready, Rachel. Yeah, for me, Rachel is an incredibly patient person, and I definitely have patience, but I think that just my job and just home life and things like that sometimes really, really tests my patience. And so Rachel is incredibly patient, and she's a really good example to me of how to, navigate things that are difficult to talk about, either, with your spouse or even to your child. Because even though Jacob is nonverbal, I speak to him like he is a 7-year-old boy, because he is a 7-year-old boy, and things like that. So I think for me, from Rachel, it's just definitely like that patience piece and how to communicate, in a loving and understanding manner with Jacob. If that,
That's really sweet. Thank you.
Of course.
So I've learned 2 things. I've only learned 2 things from Brandy.
My job here is done.
I know. Oddly enough, having a child with a disability, I don't know, Brandy, if I've ever told you this, but it's not going to surprise you, because I think it's a lot of people's issue, but I feel like I shouldn't have it because I'm with special needs. I really didn't know how to interact with Jacob, or how I'm supposed to interact, or how, and it was more like I was timid to go up and get in his face. He didn't know me. And it was like, the more I was around Brandy, and she sort of demystified that it's nothing special. It's like what you do with every other kid in the world. I thought, I really am so happy. And now whenever it improves how I interact with kids that are nonverbal, because I'm just as guilty of in assuming that the interaction will mean nothing to them. But it means a lot to everybody, the parents and everything. And so I really have changed how I interact. Now, I mean, if somebody doesn't want me to, no, I'm interacting. I know how to do this now. And they're like, scary. But I have learned that. And also, you fight for what your kid needs. And so when you meet somebody that's that needs different things. So with my child, a lot of things are behavioral. With Brandy, there's like milestones, there's ambulatory things. It's understanding what supports are different for different types of inclusion. So I think that's interesting because it's not, I think you just get in your own world and you just fight for your own kid. And then you're like, oh, wait, everybody needs something that's a little bit different. So Brandy and Carl are just the loveliest people to like be in their world, and they're so down to earth. I cannot stand people that are not just down to earth. I don't have any use for putting on airs, right? Because we don't live that life. Right. Anytime we try to put on airs, right, our kids just like, they will make sure that we don't get too confident.
Yeah, just a little joke. Just a little joke.
Right. Yeah. Let me make you sweat it all off in public. So that's definitely two things that I've learned from Brandy that I really appreciate.
Oh, this is such a sweet episode. I mean, you all are telling each other things that one probably didn't know, and I love this. Great idea, ladies. All right, so so at what moment did you all realize, okay, we're stuck with each other for life? I can't do this without her, and I just absolutely need her here. Like, what moment?
Well, it keeps happening. And the last time it happened, we were driving back from something we went and did, because we've now determined that we're almost 50. And so we're just going to go do things. And so we were driving back from doing it. It was a ghost hunt. What
it was a ghost. Listen, Amanda, they billed it as a ghost hunt. But it was more just spooky stuff.
It was just sweating in an old bulding, to be honest.
It was sweating in a very old building.
And then they would go, ooh, look at that. I mean,
it was cool. We had fun.
We had a great time.
Yeah, we had a great time.
On the way back, she was like, oh my gosh, Rachel, look at the moon.
I was like, the moon is so bright.
It was a Burger King sign.
It was a Burger King sign. A very high in the sky Burger King sign. And I'm here to tell you, if you're watching this podcast and you're in Jasper, Georgia, go see how high the Burger King sign is. It is incredibly high. And I thought it was the moon.
We cracked up more than anybody that's listening to this is going to.
She had to pull over and like put on her hazard lights.
I was hysterical. I didn't think I was going to be able to breathe and get us home. Yeah, I don't know why it was so funny. I don't know if it was the spirits that we brought home with us.
Maybe it was. It could have been. It could have been the gummy bears and whatever else.
We did get fountain drinks to hydrate before the ghost hunt.
Yeah.
It was great. But I think like one of the ones was Brandy is one of the first people. I think when you have issues or when you talk about the sort of the special place that you hold when you're autism on like the struggles that you have, people either they like sympathize with you, and that's wonderful. But Brandy had the courage to like tell me something I didn't want to hear. And I think that was one of the first times I heard like the value. And I had shared with her, because we were struggling with the school district. And I said, I can't stop thinking. Like, I don't know how to put this down at night. I don't know how to stop thinking about this. I don't know how to stop problem solving because I just thought that my life was just going to be problem solving for my one kid. And she just looked me in the face and said, Rachel, you have got to learn how to turn it off, because I was so consumed by trying to fix what I perceived as problems and make things for my son. And my brain just I didn't have to be in charge of all of it. Some things just happen. And she didn't have to say that, because I could have made me really angry. But it didn't. And I was like, I really needed somebody to say, this is not good for you. And so that and the Burger King moon, which only happens once a year, the Burger King moon.
Yeah, the Burger King moon only happens once a year.
You're driving back from the Pickens County Jail in Jasper at night. Anyway, so that was mine.
Yeah. I think for me, it's, again, much like Rachel, I think we've had multiple things that have really hit home with me. And a lot of it just centers around, for me, Amanda, that someone said to me a very long time ago, you make time for the things that are important to you. And Rachel, even though she still doesn't have my text messages pinned on her cellular device, they're at the top.
Right. I'm doing it right now.
She does always make time to respond to my text message, to send me a voice note, to, send me a funny GIF or a meme, and again, we have church on Sundays. And so to make time and make space, is when I knew. I was like, yeah, she's going to be in it for the long haul. That's how that was for me. It's that, she made space, and at this age, again, like she said, I'm going to be 50 this year. To meet a friend at this stage of the game that is willing and able to make space for you is, it's rare, and it's really cool. It's really cool.
Yes. And I'm going to piggyback off of what both of you all said. Rachel, you made the point that Brandy told you something that you didn't want to hear. And I think that is very important in a friendship on this journey, because we look at things one way, but you always need that opinion from another person looking in, and you kind of need somebody to play devil's advocate, because sometimes I try not to lead with my emotions or me overthinking, not even my emotions, but just the overthinker that I am. And I'm always like, I appreciate someone that tells me, no, you're wrong. They're right. You need to do it this way and not that way. And a lot of people don't like to hear that. So thank you, Brandy, for being a friend that's just like, hey, listen, this is that. And Rachel, you being able to accept that is amazing. That, because that goes a long way in a friendship. And then Brandy, how you say Rachel makes time for you, that is evident. That's been, my grandma used to tell me that people make time for what they want, and she's making time for you all's friendship and make you, because she understands what you're going through. And that's what people have to realize. Like, I understand that you're going through something, but hey, here's the time that I'm giving you, and I'm thinking about you. So that, I love that. Y'all are amazing. I need me an autism mom friend.
Come on, you found two. Here we are, ta-da.
We won't make you go to the ghost hunt, but we will show you.
Right, we'll show you the Burger King moon.
Yes, I would like to see that, but I think I know what you're talking about. That, because I've been to Jasper, Georgia before, so I think I know.
How can you miss it?
It was very high.
It was very high in the sky. It was breathtaking.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, you said you're passionate about being amazing moms, but keeping your identities, because you all are funny. What does that look like for you all in real life? Like, how do you maintain who you all are?
Well, now that I think, I feel things I have a little more freedom now than I've ever had. So even when I had just Sam, I was home all the time because my husband has worked 5 nights a week for our 20-year marriage. So I was always felt very, stuck is such a bad word, but I mean, that's how I felt. I felt like I couldn't go out with my friends. I couldn't go and do anything. And I just got used to that because that was our life. But now I told my husband, I said, look, the kid, like Wesley can stay home by himself for a little bit. I have a 17-year-old that when he's not working, will stay home with him. I said, if something is coming up, I'm going to go do it because I feel good. I can't, like Brandy said, I can't sit in this office and obsess over things I don't know what's going to happen. I can plan as best I can, but that was my whole life, was obsessing. And so I think it's just taking the opportunity to go and do things. And she and I kind of hold each other accountable that way. And that's why we're coming up with a list of things to go and do.
Yes.
Like summon ghosts in Jasper.
Right. Yeah. No, I definitely think that, like Rachel said, just piggybacking off of that, like we definitely make time for one another again with our breakfasts on during the weekend and things like that. But then here recently, last month, Rachel helped my husband and I make time for one another. And we took an overnight trip just for one night. And my parents came to my house and stayed with Jacob because all of his equipment is here and his his condo, you see it back there, is here, and things like that. And Rachel, because my parents are older, Rachel came over and brought Jacob upstairs, helped to get him into his pajamas, put him to bed, and things like that. So not only has she helped me, like, we get out and we go do, like, we've gone to, what have we done? We've done an escape room. We've done ghost hunting.
We've done more things.
Yeah, we've done a bunch of stuff. I just can't think of it all right now. But
we didn't write that part down.
I know, right? We should have written it down.
Go on a retreat in October.
Yeah,
right?
We're going on a retreat in October, and then for my birthday, we're doing tea around town in Atlanta.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, so she definitely has helped me on those levels of being able to be with friends, which really fills my cup. I enjoy being around my friends. I become back energized and like, I feel good. And, but then she's also allowed me to have some time with my husband one-on-one, as well. So that's definitely, part of it.
So let's, I just love y'all's story because you don't hear this often. Like, you have people, like, I know autism moms, but we're not like, oh, I'm holding you accountable for this, or we're going to do this day. Like, this is our day. Mm-hmm. And that is refreshing and extremely, like, it's like a reset and a recharge.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I do want to ask you all this. I know, Brandy, you said after you had your son, you went to the church event.
Yes.
Rachel, before Brandy, how was your support as far as friendship? Having your son, that was on the spectrum. How was that for you?
So in the beginning, I didn't know how to make, he got diagnosed in 15, so I didn't really know how to make specifically autism mom friends. My parents and my sister, the families were very supportive. And I've always gone to church. And at that time when he got diagnosed, I actually worked at a church. So they were very supportive and accommodating with him in the preschool and him in Sunday school. And it was funny because right at the time that I felt like I got this down, like I don't need, somebody started the special needs mom support group / Bible study at the church where we met on Wednesday nights. And so I was like, I was like weird. I was like, I actually really need this. And so that's really when I started making, and it was more than just like the friendships where you exchange advice and ideas. Right. It became like our kids were going through some troubling phases, and this was a non-judgmental group where you could say the thing that you can't say to everybody because
right.
It would be completely misunderstood, or my kid did this in school, and any parent that's not part of that world would clutch their pearls, and you're like, girl, that happened to me last week. That was great because we were really going through some behavioral shifts that were hard and school stuff. And so from that point on, I was like, yeah, I really need to be with my own kind, at least a little.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I agree. And Brandy, you jumped right on in and was like, I need special needs.
Yeah. Yeah. And what happened with me again, Jacob's first diagnosis is Down syndrome. And I found the Down syndrome community as a whole is amazing. The quandary that I found myself in was that Jacob does have such a significant delay. And his Down syndrome is not at this moment in his life, and when Rachel and I met, still holds true to today, is not what's holding him back. It's the autism that we need to address and work with and figure out how he communicates and things like that. And so for me, plugging into and finding a support system of other moms whose children do have that autism diagnosis has been something that I really have been able to latch onto, so to speak, and to dive into and understand and really connect with. He is genetically different than us with the Down syndrome, but the autism is something that we work daily with. And so that's kind of where that was for me, was just that I connect more with the autism community because Down syndrome is not such a problem, is not the right word, and you guys know that I don't mean that, but Down syndrome Down syndrome is not what is inhibiting him from developing.
Right.
So hopefully that came across the way I intended it to. Yes.
No, we completely understand. Not to take away from Down syndrome at all. I know
Right.
One girl was saying she didn't understand why this was a Facebook post. I'm always reading stuff. I'm a reader. She was like, I don't understand why people that have kids, treat their kids on the spectrum differently than someone with Down syndrome. And she was saying, my brother has Down syndrome and my mom disciplined him and everything. And she got Facebook in an uproar because, because they were saying, like, you're really comparing apples to oranges, because another girl was saying, like, her brother had Down syndrome, but he was able to function, a little bit more and way better than someone that has autism. So we get what you're saying, Brandy.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah. So both of you all ABA. Brandy, your son is in ABA after school, and Rachel,
yes,
he's previously been in ABA. He was in ABA when he was about 4 years old for a year, and then in 4th grade he went for a year after school. So he has had it, at times when we've needed it. It's been really helpful for us.
And for you all, Brandy?
Yeah, so we kind of let the autism diagnosis marinate, and then also it's difficult to find providers that will do in-home, because it's just with our schedule, it works better for us. And so, after he started ABA, how long has it been now? Let's see, maybe a little over 2 years ago, year and a half. So, and again, it's in home just because that's what works for our schedule.
Yeah, I love it, because Lord forbid I say anything about ABA, which I have to talk about it this week, but it's like I get the people that hate ABA on my page, and I'm just like, what is wrong? What happened? Because it works so well for us.
Right.
And it continues to work, and I hate a lot of people don't give ABA therapy a chance. Because I was going to be one of those moms. Like, I was reading Facebook comments when I first got the diagnosis, and I was like, oh, people don't like ABA. Let me not go that route. But if I would have listened to them, I would have did my son a disservice, because he has a lot of behavioral. Well, he had a lot of them, and they have decreased due to ABA therapy. So I'm glad. That's
awesome.
How old is your son, Amanda?
I'm a new mom.
Oh. How long has he been diagnosed?
For 2 years.
So he was young too.
Yeah, he was young. And the main reason was because he stopped talking.
Yeah.
I probably would have never, if he would have stayed talking, because he started talking at a very young age. Like, he moves so fast. And so the crazy part, I Googled it, and autism came up. I was like, my son is a little bit too advanced to And so they were like, shockingly, he could possibly have a regression, which is dealing with autism. And so that always stayed in the back of my head.
And the ABA thing, I think, I get the advocacy piece of that. I get that there's ABA has done a disservice to some people in some forms. But when I took mine to ABA as a 4th grader, everybody in the public school, because he was in gen ed, almost everybody didn't understand who he was. And so when I took him, and I could perceive self-esteem issues. So when I took him to ABA, I took him to a place where people absolutely adored his personality. They adored his autism. They adored everything about him. And they helped teach him to build skills like how to lose a game without, flipping the board and all of these things in a language that he would understand. And whenever somebody is nervous about it, I say, you know what? If there's something you don't like about it, communicate to the BCBA, because there was one thing they wanted him to do. And they were well-meaning, but like he would go after school. So by the time he was done with ABA, he was exhausted, and they wanted him to do something before he could come to he had to like do something specific before they would let him in the car. And I finally and he was like, one day I did go and he was just crying because he was tired. And I just said, let's not do this. Like, I do not want him having to earn his way into the car. He's tired. He's been at school. Like, this is hard. And we were like, no problem. And so it was an adult conversation, and they discussed all the things with me. So it was just kind of like, I get it. And you can have bad providers and you can have bad experiences, and but our experience was overall really great.
Yeah. And I'm like you, Rachel. I tell people, give it a try, because somebody else's experience it may not be yours. Mm-hmm. And it's communication. And I simply tell them what I want and what I don't want. Like, when I go to parent training, I see different things, and I'll email or text them and say, hey, can we not do that? Or can we work on this? Let's emphasize more on da 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 da. And it's just that simple, but I get it.
Yeah. I mean, let them stem, but yeah, let's learn how to lose a game gracefully, So yeah.
So, Brandy, you're a special education teacher, right?
I am.
How do you balance that?
My husband plays a crucial role in me being able to balance that. When I am at school, I can focus on my students because I know my husband has Jacob should anything come up at his school or at home with ABA and things like that. And then we also have this, and we have this little routine that every evening during the school year, especially, and even sometimes, right now during the summer, I come upstairs at 6:15 every evening, and I have like hour and 15 minutes to just decompress. And, because I do come home overstimulated, overtouched, overtalked to, just overlooked at, like, I just, and it's a lot. And so, I definitely and I don't want my husband to get a big head when he sees this podcast by any means, but I'm able to do a lot of balancing because of the load that he carries for us. So,
and she didn't mention the fact that she's also in school. Like, you missed the whole part where you're.
Well, why would she hasn't asked about that.
At the same time.
I'm working on my master's.
And then boop, bam, boom, I was a teacher, and I'm like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
It was a lot of group work that you forgot to talk about.
You're in school. That is amazing, because I am like a crash out with school. I had to take a break this summer because it became a lot.
Yeah.
But
no, I graduated. I graduated in December with my master's.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Yay! Yeah. Early congratulations.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that.
You can't keep up.
Oh,
with her.
Stop!
I don't.
Surely you jest.
So, what does advocating look like in you all's daily life? Like, how do y'all advocate all the time? I know at times I'm just like, I don't feel like it, and I get drained mentally.
Yes.
Just overly trying to, and I'll say not as far as school, but just in our personal life, just trying to explain to people, like, this is what it is. And like, because advocacy and awareness comes with explaining all the time. So how do y'all deal with that in the daily life?
I'll let you do that one, Rachel.
Well, I pulled my kid out of school because I got tired of it a little bit. but I think sometimes it's about, I don't know. It's hard because I feel like it's exhausting sometimes and no one's ever going to learn, because right now I've noticed that the narrative, and you said you read a lot, and then I feel like the Facebook narrative is that when it comes to school, that it's like, what about the other 25 kids in the classroom? And like, I feel like that's a lot of what's going on now. And this idea that like, as parents, like we're okay with our kids' behavior. And that's not, so I think for me, that's my sticking point right now is I'm like, nobody's okay with behaviors. Like, I don't know one autism mom who's like, I think it's totally fine. That he bolted out of class, that he threw a shoe, that he spit on somebody. It's the advocating comes when it's like, look, if you don't want them to do it again, you cannot teach them in the same way you teach a typical child. That was one of the first things I noticed parenting, was that I parented a 17-year-old who I could emotionally manipulate, if you will. He was sensitive. You could give him a look. You could do these things. You could escalate and he would, rightfully back off. But escalating for my youngest child backfired every single time. And people tell me that I'm patient now. It is because I did a lot of things where I got upset and I got angry and it backfired, and he escalated. And then it just became who's going to escalate more.
Right.
You don't teach kids on the spectrum how not to do things the same way you teach typical children. And so that would frustrate me. So when I would go to the school to advocate or come back with something, I think it's fine that he has consequences, but let's discuss what's effective, and right now that I think is my main frustration, and point that like I can't, like I'll get into comments and then I'm like, I have to get out of here because I'm just getting angry, because it's not about accepting bad behavior. It's about how do we teach them not to do that? And it might look different than being more powerful. We parent to be powerful, but it's like, do you want to be right or do you want to be effective? And that looks very different. Mm-hmm. So
I agree with that, because if I give Aiden the eye, it's just a stare down.
Right. He's like, what?
Yeah, and I don't think people understand that. It's like, I can give him no look and he gonna know what that look means. Right. He doesn't. He not that he doesn't care, but his mind is focusing on what he wants right then and there. And I just can't look at him and just be like, you know better. You can't. No, because it's gonna turn into a stare down. Mm-hmm. After the stare down, it's gonna turn into a meltdown, because now it's kind of like I don't understand what he wants. So I totally get that. So yeah,
it's like my nephew. The funny thing that he did is that my brother and sister-in-law would do the counting. Like, okay, you need to listen in 1, 2, and they would say 1, he'd go 2. Like, and they're like 3, he's like 4. Like, like it doesn't like what works for one child does not work for another. It does not work. Yeah,
exactly.
And what's the one thing I want the educator's point of view and then the mom's point of view? What's the one thing do you think that schools and teachers should understand about our autistic kids? And Rachel, you kind of touched on it a little bit.
That's my big one.
Yeah. I think for me, for the educator standpoint, is much like what Rachel said, is that what works for one kid is not going to work, or not likely not going to work for another kid. That everyone is different. I think that for me, everyone has their unique abilities and their joy that they bring to the classroom or the school in general. And it is up to us as educators to tap into that and to
I'm sorry, y'all.
Oh, you're fine.
I'm just right here too.
Guys, Coco. Guys, Coco.
You're fine.
Girl, this is what it's about. You were all good. Don't sweat it.
He's on the frame, so we can't see Aiden. He was like, I want to see Aiden. Wait, is it Aiden?
I believe that's what she said. Yes. Hey, Wesley, what's up?
Who do you see, Wesley? Miss Brandy.
Hey, Wesley, how's camp going?
Good.
Yeah?
Loving
What did
it.
you That's awesome. What did you do today?
Went on a trip.
Okay. Where did you have to get on a bus to go on the trip?
Yep.
Just tell her
Nice.
where you went, and then we'll
I went to Stars and Stripes.
Stars and Strikes. Oh,
Stop.
and then last thing, tell her what happened, and then I'm gonna finish my call.
I played bowling.
And what happened?
I won.
No, you did not.
We won bowling.
Yes, I did.
He is the king of bowling.
Oh my goodness.
For
That's
saying hi.
amazing, Wesley.
See you later. That's Miss Amanda.
Nice to meet you. Hi.
Maybe we'll get to meet, since we're so close, maybe we'll get to meet Aiden.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yes, I would love that. Maybe back to what you were saying. You agree with what Rachel?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, my students, I have a classroom of all boys, and each one of them comes with their challenges. Each one of them comes with the joys that they bring into the classroom. And it's my job as an educator to figure out what works best for them. But what I also take very seriously as an educator, and one thing that I would implore any other educators to really dive into, is to help educate parents. Because, again, with Jacob having the multiple diagnoses and the extra needs and things like that, there are so many programs, there are so many outlets for support, medical equipment, paid caregiver, HIP, Katie Beckett waiver. I mean, there are so many things out there, guardianship. The list goes on and on and on. Vocational programs for our kids who are in high school. I mean, just the list goes on and on and on. And what I see from my side as an educator is that parents don't know about these things. And I'm like, not on my watch. No, ma'am.
Mm-hmm.
If I know about something that could benefit someone on my caseload, and they're my kids, but caseload is the official term, that could benefit my caseload or my students or my parents, I share that information willingly and as quickly as I can get it to them, because it needs to be out there, that this support is here. Take advantage of it. It doesn't mean that, taking the help and getting the assistance and things like that, it doesn't mean that you're less than. It's there for a reason. It is there to be used. And so I really take that as my job. One of my big jobs as an educator is to help educate the parents as well on the things that they can do, again, to make their child the best person that they can be, because that's what we want for our kids in the end.
Absolutely.
And you are greatly appreciated for that.
I also feel like from going to a lot of IEP meetings, there's like secret doors they don't tell you about. Because I spent like all year going, I think he needs a smaller like classroom for ELA, and they're like, he needs, like a quieter place to do ELA, and they're like, well, that we don't have that doesn't exist. And then they tested him, and some score came up, and they're like, here's secret door number 3 with the smaller ELA classroom that he can qualify to go to. And I was like, where's that been that I've been asking for?
Right.
And I mean, it's I have a lot of love for educators and for schools. I think a lot of the structure of what we're supposed to expect as parents with kids with IEPs isn't accomplishable right now because of staffing, because of, I don't think it's anybody's not doing, I mean, all these people I would be friends with in real life. But like in many cases, parents feel like we're so out of the loop. We don't know what we don't know. We don't always know what our kids need. Sometimes we go in there and we fight for things and we're like, I hope this is the right thing. And then in the meantime, you feel like there's this weird tension between the admin and the teachers, and then you feel it, and then it's like you hear like your kid has been getting behavior reports every day, and then you sit in the IEP and they're like, well, he's doing great, and then you're like, well, why do I have a therapist and why am I taking an antidepressant?
Right.
Because every day I'm getting a note home that he's not doing great, and then on the IEP you're like, he's doing fabulous, and I'm like, okay, great. So why am I on Zoloft? I don't understand. Someone
right. Agreed. Yeah.
Agreed. I'm ready. So let's laugh a little bit. What because y'all are friends and y'all are funny. So what's the funniest moment for y'all where y'all are just like, y'all aren't gonna believe this moment as an autism mom, like things that happen. And y'all just like, girl, this is just what happened. Let me tell you.
Now, Amanda, there's something that you need to know about Rachel and I. We read over this script and we already know what we're going to talk about. But we're just going to put it out there for everybody else to hear as well. So
we did rehearse because
we did rehearse because we didn't want to.
We're almost 50, Amanda, and we would have been like,
I don't know. That's fine.
It's like, what's your name again? What did I say nice about you?
I don't remember. Yeah. I even made notes. So
yeah, I might have made some notes too.
But you typed yours, man. I'm very appreciative of the script. I said that to Brandy. I was really glad that the questions are here because I'm tired. I'm so tired today that I put on my Apple Watch and I was like, why are my text messages coming in upside down? And it was because I had the watch on
upside down.
Rachel Turner.
I've done that.
I was like, I need to go to settings and flip it. And yep, nope. All right, Brandy, go for it.
You needed to go to the Rachel settings and flip it.
I need to go to the Rachel setting in my brain. All right, you need to go first, and then you need to go to the witness location. You need to go into hiding after you tell your story.
Yeah, no. Okay, so again, Jacob nonverbal. And so when he cries and he gets upset, it's still that very much that playing a game of like throwing things at it and see what sticks. And one particular day, we realized that he was constipated. And so my mom had told me a long time ago, well, just put him in a warm bath, maybe put a warm washcloth on his stomach, and help relax and things like that. And I was like, oh, okay. And he was just extremely uncomfortable. And so I told my husband, I said, well, let's get him, let's put him in a warm bath. I'll sit in the bathtub with him and see if, that'll relax him. And then maybe we can get him out of the bathtub. So I get in the bathtub and Carl hands Jacob to me and we're sitting there and he's playing and we're laughing and we're giggling. And Carl, because, boys, he's like, well, while you're sitting with Jacob, I'm going to go to the bathroom, which is quote for, I'm going to go sit and send Instagram reels for a few minutes. Right. Yeah. So I'm sitting there and all of a sudden Jacob gets very quiet. And then right out of his bottom comes the biggest turd I've ever seen. Oh my and God. We are in the bathtub together. And I am screaming at the top of my lungs, I am in turd water. I am in turd water. And my husband is actively going to the restroom. I'm screaming. Jacob is happy because he has just...
He feels better. He feels great.
Which was the whole point of the bath. But yeah, I could not... I literally wish I could have launched myself out of the bathtub.
You really didn't keep your cool, Brandy.
I did not. I was so Carl comes out very disheveled, as you might imagine. Takes Jacob from me, and he's like, "Oh my god, oh my god," and I'm like, "Oh my god!" Like immediately, like straight to the shower, and I'm just like, I was losing my mind.
My eyes.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just like, and we haven't taken a bath together since because I'm very nervous.
I mean, he's very privileged completely.
And I have not told, like, Rachel besides Carl, because he lived it, sort of, let's be real. He sort of lived it. Rachel is the only other person that knows that story. And now I've just told the podcast.
Well, we all know.
We all know now, everybody. And if you are a civilian listening to this and you are grossed out, like, welcome to our world.
This is our life. I know that that's gross, but when I look back on it now, it's hilarious. Right.
All you need,
just like, literally,
exactly.
This is like your worst nightmare, and
and we had a few fecal smearage years. So I mean,
it's great. It's great.
People don't get it. They don't get it.
They don't understand. And you say that Aiden is constipated at this moment, and I've been giving him
warm bath, girl.
Yeah.
Don't to try it again because he sits in the tub every night and it's not working.
I'm telling you. I'm just telling you.
I may take the rag and place it on his stomach, the warm rag. I'll do that one.
That's a good idea. That's a good idea.
I'll try that one.
Yeah, like I said, I know that's not like it that's my life. Like this really happened to me, and I was like,
we face things that people would be like, "Ugh, why?"
Oh yeah, I know, and I hope that makes the podcast. I apologize if that was too much information.
No, this is Confessions of an Autism Mom, and we telling this is our lives. This is the real deal over here. We don't sugarcoat anything.
It's true. It's true.
Lay
it on us, Rachel.
Well, for us, we're all a little afraid of Wesley. He runs the house a little bit.
He does.
It's like living with a grouchy old man.
It is.
It is. And he comes up with rules and we all follow them because we just don't want to hear it. We're like surly teenagers and Wesley is in charge of all of us. So I have several, but like one time my favorite was he got into like appliances. He really loves all of our appliances. And if we put something in the washing machine, he goes and he checks the time and he goes and checks the time periodically and then comes and tells us how much time is left. And the different modes on there have different time settings. And so one day he came downstairs and he pulled a chair out and he said, "Mom, we need to have a talk." And I was like, okay. And he was like 9 or 10. And he asked me to have a seat and we had a discussion about why I only wash things on the normal mode. And he was very upset with me. And and the last thing he said to me was, it's like you don't even care about the other modes, Mom. And I was like, I felt terrible. I called my sister. I said, do you think I don't care about the other modes? Like, I feel terrible now if I'm just doing like normal modes.
I've always thought that about you.
I mean, do I seem like a person that doesn't care about washing machine modes? I don't know.
Actually.
So, and all of our appliances are LG, so they all play some song at the end of it. And he knows like when the dishwasher is going to go off so he'll go hide in another room because he doesn't like to hear the noise. And it's like sometimes we're like turning it off before it's like, and we're just doing it. We just live like this. We're just like, okay, well, sure. So he's pretty funny. One day he came home from school and said that he had a terrible day because everybody was complaining at him positively. And I was like, I don't understand what that means. And he was like, well, they were all day. They were just complaining at me positively. And I asked his teacher later, I was like, what does this mean? And she said, oh, he was struggling in a class and the little girls at his table were trying to encourage him and they were cheering him on. And apparently to him, that is called complaining positively. And he has no time for it.
He doesn't.
He has no time
to complain.
Well, and my favorite Wesley story, my favorite Wesley story is I had a little get together last Valentine's Day for some girlfriends, and Wesley came with Rachel. And I had, Rachel's favorite chicken salad and some different things. And he comes into the room and we're sitting there at my dining room table and we're chit-chatting and laughing and stuff. And he says, you don't have any good snacks here.
And we were new friends, and I was like,
and I was like, you're right. Do you want some fruit snacks?
He was like, there are just no good snacks.
And like she said, like I immediately was like, how can I serve you?
What can we go get for you?
What can I go get for you? Like,
he has way too much power. It's not right. It's not.
Yeah. So that's my fun Wesley story. I mean,
that endeared you to him.
It really did. That. I mean, I have snacks on the ready.
Yeah,
all the time now.
Approved snacks.
Just for Wesley. I love to hear that.
Yeah.
And what's a theme song for y'all friendship?
Oh, we didn't answer this one because it was hard. No. I thought of a perfect one because of the week that you had. Tub thumping, I get knocked down, but I get up again. Because we try. Okay, so we had this week where you know how you try. Well, I don't know if you want to get into it, Brandy, but the theme of it was you try to do these things to make your kid's life magical, and you go and it falls apart because they have a meltdown or you can't do the thing, and then you're like, I'm never gonna leave my house ever again. There's no point in this. And then you get amnesia, and then you do it again. So
yes, every day until you die. Yes,
exactly. Every day till we die. We're like, why don't we go try this again?
Yeah.
Because it was so
True.
great last time when we had to low crawl out of the movie that cost me $50 5 minutes through because it was too loud.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's true.
That's our life.
Yeah, that's a great one. I love that. I mean, gosh, there's so many songs. I mean,
I was going to play the song, but they'll copyright it, so I can't play the song.
we could
I
all just
and I was going to play it, and I was like, oh, they're going to copyright it.
yeah. I think that's a great one. Rachel.
Yeah, and I think it has multiple meanings. It can mean like it can be serious, like, you know, we get knocked down and we just get up every day and we just keep doing it. I mean, and I think I know most of us don't like to be told. I don't know how you do it, because I think anybody would do it if they had to. But so it has to do with like that, because there can be really dark times. There can be really fatiguing spells. You can be a parent. Yes. I mean, we are very blessed and lucky. Well, I hate to say we're blessed because we're very lucky that we have spouses, because there's a lot of moms out there that don't. There are dads out there that are raising special needs kids and need extra patience. But it also can mean this great, where we have these amazing ideas that something never worked is going to work. And then, then it just
I'm going to try it again.
Right. Let's do it one more time.
Yeah.
All right. And what advice would you all give to another autism mom on the journey?
That's a good one.
Mine would be, this is going to be hard and confusing. It's going to be hard and confusing, and you are going to grieve. It does not mean you don't love your kid. It does not mean that you don't love them exactly the way you are, but there will be experiences that are different. The good side of this is we all have to let our kids go on their own path. But for most people with typical kids, it happens when they're 18. We just learn how to let go earlier. And I think it's very freeing. And I also think that if I had something to do over again, I would have found friends. Like, you have friends that sympathize, but then you have friends that understand. I would have found friends that understood earlier than I did, because
you would have found me sooner.
I would have found Brandy sooner. I would have listened for the ice cream truck.
Heard all the time, girl. 6:30.
So that's my advice. I mean, you're going to come out the other side just stronger, because we get stronger through adversity. But it is going to be confusing and hard. It will be.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely will second that. And I think too that somehow, some way, be sure to, because it's easy to get lost in the diagnosis. It's easy to get lost in the ABA and the IEP meetings and the doctor's appointments and the advocating and things like that. I think that the one thing that I would encourage moms to do as they, go through the grieving process and come out the other side of that, and kind of really have come to a place of acceptance, if you will, if that's even the right word to use in this case, is to really work hard to maintain your own identity as well, because you were you before the diagnosis. And that, to me, is the biggest thing that I think that I would like to gift to someone else, because I don't think that I did that for myself as soon as I could have. And to lean into support, to find your tribe. They are out there. We are out there. And don't be afraid to say that it's hard. And don't be in can I cuss? Can I say a cuss word?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Yes. And don't be afraid to say, Jacob was an asshole today, because it doesn't take away from the love that you have for your kid. Right. It is okay that it is hard. But, so those are just a few things that I would throw out there. Is definitely try to maintain your own identity, because you can get lost very, very quickly.
You can.
Absolutely.
Thank you, ladies, for that. And what's y'all's confession as an autism mom? That's the last question. I don't put that one on the list.
Man, so off the cuff, our confession as an
Yes.
autism mom.
That one is your first thought, good or bad?
Oh, wow, that's a good one. She stumped us, Rachel. What are we gonna do?
I
We
know.
didn't talk about this.
No.
No.
You can delete the thinking time, right? Edit out the time it's going to take us to wire up the gears. I think it probably changes. Right now I have a lot of right now I have a lot of cynicism about trying to educate kids on the spectrum, and so I'm like, all I can think of right now is just our journey of this last year of pulling him out and doing all this other stuff, and like but I don't know that that's much of a confession.
Was it hard? Was it easy? You know, the homeschooling journey?
I mean, it was, I felt like when I pulled him out, somebody stopped standing on my chest all the time.
Okay.
Like, he goes to a school that has a name in it. And when he went to a school that had a name in it, and one day that name popped up on my phone, and I literally was like, what happened? And it was just a guy with that name who had dialed the wrong number. And I was like, maybe I should calm down.
Yeah.
Because every time I just think it's the school, and I want to be like, I think my confession is that that their true understanding will not exist from people, and maybe that's the case with everything, and it's not just us, but I'm really cynical about people that are just like, stop your complaining, or stop treating your kid like they can do no wrong, because it's just the wrong. They do not get it. They do not understand. And so for me, I'm just really cynical right now, and I really don't care to engage people that, just think, you're just raising your kid to be bad, right? And no limitations. I'm like, you come in here and try to discipline your kid the way you disciplined your previous kid and see what works,
Yeah.
But on the other side of it, he's thriving, and
he really is.
He's more independent than my 17-year-old, who asked, I don't know if I told you this, Brandy, because he goes to Brandy's school, the one she works at. He came in the other day, he's 17, and he asked my husband for a lamp. And Andy said, why do you need a lamp? And he said, the light is out in my bathroom. We were like, why don't you change the light bulbs?
That's a life skill that I teach, how to change light bulbs.
I need him to be in your class. He's not ready for the real world. But Wesley taught himself how to use the air fryer. He was like, I want to make lunch in the air fryer. And I was like, okay, I'll come down and do it for you. And he was like, I already did it and it worked out fine. And I was like, okay. So, I don't think I gave you a concise answer. I hope you can pull something from that.
No, you gave one.
Okay, good.
Oh, God. I wish I had like a fun tagline, like, I'm an autism mom, and my confession is, like, I'm an autism mom, and you know what? I'm an autism mom, and my confession is that, number one, I am on antidepressants, and I am in therapy once a month. And I also am raising my child to love 70s funk music. There you go.
Horrible.
Those are my confessions.
You're going to get hate mail. You're going to get hate mail for that. Any advice?
No, same here. Antidepressant therapy twice a month. I go twice a month. She moved
Good for you.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, you're fine. We're all in the same boat here. We all, and I think people, the quicker you go to therapy, the quicker you get the antidepressant, life will be so much better. Like, it's okay.
I think you made me think of a good one. Like, I'm an autism mom, and my confession is I don't fight over where you go to bed. I do not care. I'm not going to tuck you into your bed if you don't want to be there.
Great.
If you want to sleep on the couch, I do not care. Just go to bed. That is not my husband's confession, because he's like, it would be nice if I could have the downstairs couch. And I'm like, I don't really understand what you're saying. So just go upstairs to the other TV.
Right.
making my life easier.
Right. Yeah, that's another one too. If I'll throw it in there, that's a good one. I'm an autism mom, and my son still does not wear shoes and socks. Like,
No, they're overrated.
yeah, I mean, he goes to school barefoot. I'm pretty sure they think I'm raising a hobo. Like,
1 out of 10. Hobos are the future.
hobos are where it is at.
Hobos who know their 70s funk are the future.
I mean, what more do you need from him?
He's gonna get hate mail from hobos now.
No, Aiden doesn't wear shoes that often either. Like he loves to walk outside barefoot. And
Yes,
I'm like,
it's called grounding, people. Look it up.
Look it up.
Love it.
We all need to be closer to Earth. That's what
Yes.
Like,
Love it.
I'm not about to fight about Crocs. Like, he'll put his Crocs
No,
on.
why?
But I'm not.
Why?
If you want to be outside barefoot, it's only a baby wipe away from wiping your little feet off. That's how I feel.
Yes, love it, girl. Love that for you.
So I truly enjoyed you, ladies. This was a great podcast.
Thank you.
Can you tell us where we can find you all on social media platforms if you want?
Sure. I am I think my Instagram handle is at Rachel Writes Here, and then I have a blog, rachelwriteshere.com, RACHELWRITESHERE.com. I do humor writing, so I put my stuff up there sometimes.
Yeah. You can just find me by my name. I don't have anything exciting. Yeah.
You can find us at Bojangles on every other
On
Sunday.
Bojangles. Yeah, every other Sunday. At a table for 8 when there's only at a table for 8 when there's only 2 of us. Yeah. It's our personalities. Our personalities take up the other 6 chairs.
6 other seats. Our social media handle is, you can just find us at Bojangles.
Yeah. So hashtag Bojangles forever. Yeah. Oh no, Rachel, hashtag Church of Bojangles.
Church of Bojangles, right? We do call it church.
Yeah, yes, that's their church on Sundays, y'all. If y'all missed or if y'all wasn't paying attention at the beginning, that's where they go on Sunday for church to have their girls.
Yes.
And I totally enjoyed you, ladies. You all, if you didn't learn anything on this episode, hopefully you learned that having a friend, an autism mom as a friend, is very, very important. They are making their way well on this journey as far as a friendship, and we all need that. And as Brandy mentioned earlier, she knew they were locked in from the chlamydia joke. Yes. That's the kind of humor that you need in life. You need that kind of humor.
Nothing together.
We go through a lot at home behind closed doors. So you need that type of humor, that dry, funny humor. So if y'all didn't learn anything, learn that you need a friend. You also can get rid of constipation in warm water. We try that right now with the warm rag. And Rachel talked about homeschooling. I see that a lot. She feels better. So there was a lot to learn on this episode, and I've truly enjoyed it because I've never had 2 people on at the same time. So this was new for me.
Yeah, very cool. Very cool.
Yeah, this was a very great experience, and we had some laughs, and I know y'all are going to get some laughs as well. And I will put their social media platforms in the description box. And thank you, ladies, so much for joining me this evening and sharing your journey. I truly enjoyed it.
Thank you so much for having us.
Wonderful. I hope we get to see you in the wild sometime.
Yes.
You know, I said I am going to connect with more moms, and I'm going to make it my business too. Ada likes to go places and be outside. So, but that mommy time at Bojangles with a biscuit and grape jelly sounds delicious.
Okay? Yes. They have plenty of grape jelly, girl.
Yes. So you all make sure you all like this video, and make sure you all leave encouraging messages to Brandy and Rachel. And once again, I will see you all next week. Okay. Bye-bye, y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you.